Live from Augustana College, this is WAG FM Radioactive. I am your host, Joe McCoy, and you are listening to the JoeDaBears Football Show. Today we will be discussing the Bears' 23-16 victory against the Carolina Panthers, which moved the Bears to 5-1 in the season and first place in the NFC North after the Green Bay Packers lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday. This game was one where the Bears never were trailing ever since the Carolina Panthers' first offensive drive where Teddy Bridgewater threw an interception. The Bears capitalized with Cole Kmet's first NFL touchdown. They never looked back from there. Once they were up 7-0, they were never trailing in this game, and it definitely was one that was closer than it should have been. I think the Bears, this score probably should have been closer to about 30-16, and no one would have had to be nervous at the end, but the Bears were pretty in control of this game from start to finish. I think that fans a little bit overreacted to us almost losing the game. I don't think we were ever... Yes, the Carolina Panthers had a chance to tie the game at the end, but I think the Bears were in firm control of this game from the first snap, and I think it was really prevalent in how the defense played. And, the offense, kind of the story of the season so far, is they did just enough to win the game. So, ever since the first snap, you saw Khalil Mack, he was in there the first snap of the game. He stops Mike Davis on the run. Second snap of the game, Bilal Nichols sacks Teddy Bridgewater, which very closely could have been a safety. He was down at about the quarter-yard line. And then the next play, Jalen Johnson breaks up a pass, tips it in the air, and Deshaun Gibson gets the interception. So you just knew right from the beginning that this Bears defense has come to play. They were ready. They were fired up. And, they set the tone for the entire game and made it a lot easier for the Bears offense to capitalize off of turnovers, and they gave them very good field position throughout the entire game. So getting into the numbers, Nick Foles was 23 for 39 for 198 yards, one passing touchdown, one rushing touchdown, and an interception. So he had a QBR of 77.6, and it's a very average day by Nick Foles. I think he made a couple of really good passes. The one in particular is the touchdown pass to Cole Kmet. Kmet was triple covered, but it wasn't like a bad throw into triple coverage. He was just really tightly covered. Foles put the ball right on the money, and Kmet made a great catch in traffic. So it was awesome to see the rookie get his first touchdown. Hopefully that builds his confidence. Hopefully he's used in the passing attack a little bit more. I know Kmet has really come along as a blocker, which is great to see, but it'd be awesome to see Kmet getting more involved in the passing game, getting more receptions, all that good stuff. So, Nick Foles, his average per throw was only 5.1 yards per throw, so you definitely want to see that up. Again, I said this on the last show, but when Foles came in, I really thought the ball was going to be pushed down the field more. We haven't really seen that. I don't know if that's the receivers not getting open on deep plays. I don't know if Nagy doesn't trust the line to hold up. But I definitely wish you saw more chunk plays, more 10, 15, 20-yard throws that we could capitalize on, because we're really good at the underneath stuff. We're really good at taking what the defense gets us. And I know right now we're winning because of that, and that's great, so I can't complain too much. But I definitely would want to see this offense be more explosive and just pushing the ball down the field a little bit more. The running game struggled again today. David Montgomery ended up with an okay day. He had 19 carries for 58 yards, no touchdowns, but he also did have 4 receptions for 39 yards. So David Montgomery again was proving he was a threat in the passing game. He was actually the Bears' second leading receiver in this game behind Allen Robinson. So the running game got going towards the end a little bit more. It was just so stagnant during the first half. Everything was getting bottled up. You saw the Bears starting to run more screen passes to be an extension of the run game. And, this is the third week in a row. This was an issue last year. Unfortunately, it's rearing its ugly head again this year. And maybe what happened at the end of the game they can build off of. I think what I noticed is they started to do kind of more outside runs. So you see that the Bears a lot tend to kind of run up the middle, do a lot of dive plays, all that stuff. But they tend towards the end of the game to stretch it towards the outside of the field, get outside towards the tackles, towards the sideline, and it seemed to free up things a little bit. So I'm hoping maybe they found some confidence in those runs towards the end of the game, but you definitely want to see this run game get going, and that will help open up the deeper pass plays that I was just talking about. Allen Robinson was the Bears' leading receiver in this game, but he only had 5 receptions for 53 yards. He did have a long of 23 yards, which was basically, we only had 2 chunk plays of the day. We had a 23-yarder to Allen Robinson, and a beautiful 18-yard pass to Darnell Mooney, where Mooney made a great jumping catch. But you definitely, as I said, want to see more chunk plays. Robinson, pretty quiet day from him in terms of his standards. You're used to seeing 7, 8, 9 catches for over 100 yards and a touchdown, but we'll take it. And you can't have a big day every day. And so yeah, it was a pretty mellow passing attack by the Bears in this game. Anthony Miller again had a bad game. He only had 3 receptions for 8 yards. 2 of them were on screens. Another one, this was actually one of my most frustrating plays of the game, but he runs a little 3-yard in-route, dig route to get the first down because it was 3rd and 3. He catches it at the first down line, and instead of just catching it and falling backwards, he catches it and tries to loop back around, and then he gets tackled but loses 2 yards from where he caught it, and we don't get the first down. So I'm not sure. Anthony Miller has really become semi-non-existent in this offense. It's very surprising to see. Jimmy Graham is getting more catches now. We've already seen Darnell Mooney has gotten more snaps than Anthony Miller. And it's a little bit concerning because we drafted Anthony Miller in the 2nd round. Everyone thought last year was going to be his breakout year. It wasn't. So then everyone thought this year was going to be his breakout year. And in the Detroit game, he makes a game-winning touchdown. And you were all ready to see him break out. And now Darnell Mooney, who was a 5th-round pick this year, is already getting more snaps than him. He already seems to be more explosive in the offense. So I'm hoping Anthony Miller can get on track. I don't know if Matt Nagy just isn't game planning to get him involved, but I still love Anthony Miller. I love his passion, but I really want to see him involved more into this offense. So getting on to the Carolina offense, Teddy Bridgewater had probably his worst game of the season so far. He was coming off of 3 really hot games, especially one against Atlanta, where he had 264 passing yards in the first half against Atlanta, which is the most in the NFL this season. But in this game against the Bears, he was 16 for 29 for 216 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. So a very rough day for Teddy Bridgewater. As I said, he had the pick right at the beginning of the game, and he also had the pick that ended the game. So he was uncomfortable all day in the pocket. He was being rushed on throws. He missed a wide open DJ Moore in the 4th quarter, which could have tied up the game. That was one of those plays where it's better to be lucky than good as a Bears fan, because DJ Moore got wide open behind the secondary. There was a breakdown in coverage, and Teddy Bridgewater just overthrew him. So, you can tell even when the defensive line might have not got to Teddy on that play, but just throughout the course of the game, when he's constantly hurried up, constantly getting hit and pressured, it can make you miss those throws that he normally doesn't miss, because in the back of your head, you're worried about getting hit. So not a good day by Teddy Bridgewater. His quarterback rating was a 34.1 on a scale of 0 to 100. So very poor day from Teddy Bridgewater. And it really showed. Moving on to the Carolina rushing attack, Mike Davis was also held in check. He had 18 carries for 52 yards, which is a 2.9-yard average and 1 touchdown. So he was also coming off of 3 really hot games. He stepped right in for Christian McCaffrey, was running through teams, was the leader in broken tackles in the NFL. But in this game, he still had 52 yards, but it's very poor numbers. He had basically the same numbers that David Montgomery had. He did end up getting 1 touchdown, but it was very nice to see the Bears defense kind of hold up against this Carolina run defense or run offense. Some of the Carolina receivers had a pretty good day. DJ Moore, I thought, was open a lot in this game. They were kind of picking on Jalen Johnson, the rookie, a little bit. So DJ Moore had 5 receptions for 93 yards. 38 of those yards came on 1 play, but they definitely were picking on Jalen Johnson, the rookie, a little bit. DJ Moore has great speed, along with Robbie Anderson, who's the number 1 receiver in Carolina. So Robbie Anderson had 4 receptions for 77 yards with a long of 39. So you see 2 huge chunk plays right there. 2 plays of basically 40 yards, and that's what you want to see the Bears defense limit. I know the Bears defense is really good at yards per attempt. We actually allow, I believe, the lowest yards per attempt per quarterback in the NFL. But you still want to limit those chunk plays. You don't want to see 40-yard plays, because that's how offenses can really get going, and that's how the defense can get gashed a little bit. Moving on to the defensive side of the ball. And man, is this Bears defense looking like it did in 2018. All of a sudden, they are back firing on all cylinders. They have energy. They're getting to the quarterback. They're generating turnovers. And this is the rest of the NFL really needs to start looking out, because this team is coming for you. And with this defense, it makes a bad to average offense look better. And if this offense can just get just a little bit better, get the run game going, get more explosive plays, and you start seeing us put up 27, 30 points a game, this is going to be a team that's going to be a real issue come later in the season and come playoff time. But getting to some of the defensive numbers, Khalil Mack had a sack, Bilal Nichols had a sack, Mario Edwards had a sack. We had a total of 4 sacks this game, and it was great to see. I think what you're really seeing, and I know these guys don't get enough recognition, but you're seeing these role players really get involved and help out the defense. So, we have an amazing front four in Khalil Mack and Akeem Hicks and Bilal Nichols and Robert Quinn. But then you see these rotational guys also getting involved, and James Vaughters and Markevius Mingo and Mario Edwards and Brent Urban, who's been making a name for himself right now. And when you have those pieces and those guys who are able to step in when Mack and Hicks and Bilal and Quinn need a break, and you have guys who are able to step in and still produce, that is so important for a defense, because the offense knows that, okay, we can't take this playoff just because Mack is out. Doesn't mean Markevius Mingo, who's his backup, can't still get to the quarterback. So having those backup rotational players still be impact for your team is huge, and it really is making this defense better. I thought you saw all game Khalil Mack be a presence, especially in the run game and generating pressure. I think Mack does not get enough recognition for what he does in the run game. You really see that whenever teams run towards his side and he's in the game, it rarely ever goes anywhere. He's just so good at setting the edge or blowing up the blocker and making the tackle. But just an all-around dominant performance by this Bears defense. Again, only allowing 16 points. We only allowed 6 points in the first half. And it's really the pressure by the front four is generating the turnovers. Eddie Jackson, I feel so sorry for this man. Had another pick 6 called back today on a very questionable call. They said that Kyle Fuller got there too early and kind of climbed on the receiver's back, so he tipped up the ball. Eddie Jackson caught it for the pick 6, but they called PI on Kyle Fuller. It's just like how this man is just 2 pick 6s is so much for a season, and he has 2 through 6 games, and both of them have been called back because of very questionable pass interferences. I think the refs really need to be a little less strict on defenses, because they always say the cornerback or the safety, they have just as much right to the ball as the receiver. So you see our secondary, they're trying to go for the ball, but then as they're going for the ball, the refs think that they're pass interfering with the receiver. But I don't think you can say that they have the same right to the ball, but then not allow them to try to attack for the ball. Because what you're seeing is Kyle Fuller, because he's playing behind him, because he's the cornerback, so he has to be playing behind him, he has to run through him and kind of through his back to try to get to the ball. So if Kyle Fuller, he can't go around the receiver and then try to make the interception, because that would take too long. So it doesn't really make sense how you can say they have equal right to the ball, but then you're not allowing them to attack through the receiver to get the ball. So Eddie Jackson, those pick 6s are coming, the ones that'll count. I know there's another one in his future. I'm hoping it's this week against the Rams. The Bears always seem to pick on Jared Goff and the Rams, so I'm hoping he will get his pick 6. But right now, it's definitely got to be frustrating for him having 2 called back. I think one unsung hero of the defense, and I know he has been in minimally, but DeAndre Houston Carson, now back-to-back weeks, has the game-ending play. And I know he's not in a lot. He's in more right now because Deion Bush is hurt with a hamstring injury. But to make the game-ending play on back-to-back plays, it shows that the other team is thinking that he's the weak spot. You see Brady on the 4th down. He tries to throw the in route. DeAndre Houston Carson basically runs the route for the receiver, batting it away. And now in this game, the same thing. They try to run an in route. DeAndre Houston Carson jumps it, gets the interception, game over. So he might not be getting a lot of reps, but when he's in there, especially towards the end of the game, he's really making them count, and he's finishing these games for the Bears defense. So one thing I've seen around the national media is a lot of people questioning, like, are the Bears lucky or are they good? And I think at this point, it's hard to say that a team that's 5-1 is not good. I don't think the question is, are the Bears lucky or are they good? I think the question is, are the Bears good or are they great? And I think the defense is really starting to click. They're really starting to look like the 2018 Bears defense, and we all know where that defense took us. We were one kick away from being in the divisional round of the playoffs where we would have had a date with the Rams, who we already demolished earlier in that season. And, we all know what happened with Cody parking the kick, but no one truly knows what could have happened that year if that kick went in. That defense was that good, and the offense was doing enough that team had a legitimate chance to make a Super Bowl run with how good that defense was. And I think right now you're kind of seeing that it's slowly returning to that 2018 form. And if it just keeps getting better and better and better, and I think you will see the offense become more productive under Nick Foles. Again, this is only his third game in a Bears uniform. There was no preseason. There was no real offseason. I think he's got to kind of figure out what he likes. Him and Matt Nagy need to figure out what each other like. And if this offense, like I said, can just become a little bit better, a little bit more explosive, a little bit better in the run game, this team could really take off. So I think right now the Bears are a good team at 5-1, but they have the chance of being a great team and being a real team that come November, December, playoff time is a real threat, especially if they have home playoff games in the winter at cold and windy Soldier Field. I know I don't normally talk about off-the-field antics or what didn't happen during the game, but if for those of you who didn't see it, I would highly recommend going to watch Nick Foles' press conference after this game, because the reporters were asking their typical questions. It looks like the offense isn't getting going. It looks like things are struggling, blah, blah, blah. And just the answer from Foles was so different than a prototypical answer of like, yeah, we're going to get it going, more reps, blah, blah, blah. He basically just came out and was like, I'm excited. Like, we're 5-1. We're still getting hated on by the media. No one thinks we're for real. No one thinks we're that good. But our record clearly doesn't say that. And, as an offense, we're not where we want to be. But that's okay, because if we were where we were wanting to be, if we felt like everything was going good, then where are we going to grow? Because I think kind of the best example I have for this is Green Bay. So through the first 4 weeks, Green Bay looks unstoppable. Their offense is putting up the most points in the league. Aaron Rodgers is looking like the MVP. Everything is perfect. The media is saying the Packers are the #1 team in the league. Great. They go on a bye week. They come back. They face Tampa Bay. They get obliterated by Tampa Bay. They put up 10 points on offense. Aaron Rodgers throws 2 interceptions. 1 is a pick 6. And now you're kind of like, wait, but I thought our offense was so good, and now we're not good. Where do we go? So you're kind of in a spot where you're not really sure where to go. But I think for the Bears, I'm not going to say it's good that our offense is struggling, because that's a bad excuse. But it's kind of like we're getting enough done right now. We're riding the defense, and our schedule's about to get tougher, but we know what we need to work on. And I believe they know the ways to improve that. Not saying it's going to, all of a sudden, we're going to play the Rams and we're going to have an offense that puts up 40 points. But if you can gradually get them better and better and better, and that's what an NFL season is all about. It's not about who's the best week 1 or who's the best week 5 or who's the best week 13. It's about who's the best in the playoffs. And if the Bears just keep getting a little bit better every week, Nick Foles gets a little bit more comfortable in the offense. The line just does a little bit better blocking each week. And the defense just continues to be as good as they are, and they're just going to get more chemistry, and you hope, knock on wood, that there's no injuries or very minimal injuries. This team could really be building something, because that confidence slowly builds and builds and builds, and you realize what you're having, and you realize what you are as a team, and that chemistry, and through that adversity you get stronger and get better as a team. And then all of a sudden, you're like 12-4 and you're in the playoffs, and you have a really, really, really good defense for the playoffs. And now your offense is kind of good too. And now you're an even team, and the offense is staying on the field and keeping the defense off the field, and they're scoring more points, and they're moving the ball down the field. And all of a sudden, the media is like, holy crap, the Bears are a good football team. So I think it's a good spot where we're at. A win is a win in the NFL. Nick Foles, the quote that everyone pulled for it is, would you rather win ugly or lose pretty? And I 100% agree with that, because everyone seems to want to, obviously everyone wants to win 40-10. You look amazing. Your offense throws 5 touchdowns. Your defense gets interceptions. We all want that. We get it. It's not realistic in the NFL, but I would much rather put up 23 points and win the game than put up 40 points and lose the game. And I think that's what's so important about having a good defense, is we almost know that our defense is going to hold the opposing offenses to under 24 points. So if this offense can just get a little bit better and consistently put up 27, possibly even 30 points, this is a very dangerous team. So Bears fans, stay optimistic. This week we have a huge game, national TV. It's our first national televised game against the Rams on Monday Night Football in the brand new SoFi Stadium in LA. It'll be awesome to see the stadium all decked out, the new screen called the Oculus in the stadium. And it'll be awesome to watch. And, this is a huge game for the Bears. I know I feel like I say every game's a big game, but when you're in a national stage, the whole world is watching, all the media is watching, you're going to be talked about the next day. If the Bears come out and win this game, and if the defense dominates again, and the offense looks pretty good, this team is really going to be recognized, and the NFL is going to take notice, because at 6-1, I don't want to hear no more talk about it, the Bears lucky, because you don't get to 6-1 by being lucky. You're a good football team if you're 6-1. So this starts the stretch of hard games. Our next 3 games are the Rams, the Saints at home, and then we go at Tennessee. So 3 potential playoff teams that we're about to play. Tennessee, that third one, I'm so excited for that game. It's going to be really interesting to watch our defense against that high-powered offense of Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill. I know I'm looking way ahead, but I think this is the first step in a hard three stretch game, and it's on national TV. And I think if the Bears come out and win this game, especially if they win pretty as everyone wants, I think that they'll really put the NFL on notice. So Bears fans, I'm excited. I'll say exactly what I said last week. I hope I'm talking to you next week when the Bears are 6-1. It'd be awesome. It's a great time to be a Bears fan. We're leading the NFC North. Who would have thought that would be the case after Week 6? I personally thought it could happen. I know not a lot of other people did, but this defense is back. The offense is getting better, and I think there's a lot of things to look forward to. So I can't wait to talk to you guys next week. Hopefully we're talking about another Bears W. See ya.